Okay, sorry about that. My soundboard was out. Yeah, I'm hitting the mic button. That's really annoying. Okay, I don't know what's going on. All right, so let's try again. Let's just kind of take it from the beginning. What I did is just talked very briefly about... Do my sliders even work? No, they don't. Okay, well, I'll just have to use the mouse for that. All right, so... Yeah, I was kind of showing you the plateau high over the region and some of the fog in that area, and I was showing the ECMWF there. So I was showing the valleys. They've got that cold air parked over that and some of it in Texas. And we've got the northeast coast system right there in the northeast. Looks like a little bit of a trough coming down through the Carolinas. And we've got very strong downslope flow in Montana, the Dakotas, and Wyoming. Another look at it is like this. This is the GFS. And this is showing that kind of a paradoxical pattern. You can see that there's a lot of warm air kind of parked over this area. So how do we resolve that? What might be causing that? So the thickness showing kind of a ridge in that area. This is really where SKUTs can help you out a lot. So let's try going to the SKUTs. The first rule of SKUT is being able to find it in your tabs. I'm going back and forth trying to find it. Okay, yeah, here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to show the SKUTs in that area. We'll try Salt Lake City. Okay, this is an interesting pattern here. So what we see here is very cold air near the surface, 32 to 31 degrees. And you go about 3,000 feet off the surface. Temperatures warm up very rapidly. And near the top of it, temperature's almost 50 degrees Fahrenheit. It's kind of weird. You go up in the mountains, and it's almost like spring there, but in the valleys, it's a lot colder there. So a very strong inversion. And that's very characteristic of these plateau highs. We get these ridges parked over the area. Very cold air trapped down at the surface. They form stratus layers. And then during the nighttime, the stratus layers radiate heat away as long waves. And that gradually cools the air mass there. And this can go on for many weeks. And I think back in December of '85, there was an episode that went on for about 3 or 4 weeks there. So the warm air that we're seeing is because of this right there, the warm air aloft. It's very deep, many miles deep, and just a very shallow layer of cold air near the surface. So that's how we resolve that. The true cold air in the U.S. is right here. It's a lot deeper, and we can take a look at it sounding there. The core of it, let's check out the Erie, Buffalo area. Okay, Buffalo. So there's the SKUT for that. Instead of seeing a big inversion, we see just pretty much cold air all the way up through the column. Moist adiabatic lapse rate there, going from 20s all the way to minus 30, minus 40 very quickly. And a very low tropopause at about 28,000 feet there. Okay, other than that, let's see. We'll take a look at the 850 chart. So this is showing current conditions actually about 1 or 2 hours ago. So at 500 or 5,000 feet, lots of cold air over Lake Huron and Lake Erie. And there's that downslope flow there in the Great Plains. So it's a pretty simple pattern. The tops of the cold air in the Salt Lake City area is showing some cold air. but at 700 millibars you would find very warm air. Jet stream pattern looks like this. Polar front jet way up there and off the coast, and very quiet in the western U.S., and looks like the subtropical jet is back at it down in the southern tier states. So that's giving 70 to 80 knot winds there in the Big Bend and the Rio Grande. I always get that one wrong. All right, so let's see here. Any frontal boundaries? Not really. They're pretty well diffused. Most of the strong temperature contrasts are way down in the Gulf of Mexico. Looks like the front is past Miami. So we're going to find that way down here. North winds there in the Gulf of Mexico. West winds there at Florida. And we might find a little bit of a boundary up through here. I can see, wow, look how warm it is in Nevada, 26 at Tonopah, which is where I worked back a long time ago. 26 Celsius, that's going to be 79 Fahrenheit. 28 to 22 there at Las Vegas. But we contrast that very sharply with the 32-degree temperatures at Boise. One way to look at this is with a surface plot. Let's check that out. They've cooled down a little bit, so Tonopah has come down to 42. But to the rescue, we can take a look at the potential temperature and get a little bit better look at it. And that's going to place maybe a boundary kind of like that right there. That would be sort of a stationary boundary. So much colder temperatures in the north part of the state. Meanwhile, 62 there at Vegas. And the other question is, does that extend out into the San Joaquin Valley? Well, we've got a little bit of north wind there, so that's a good indicator that cold air is kind of in effect. Much warmer conditions down around the Salton Sea. 61 to 73 in that area. So I might place maybe a little bit of a boundary through there. Maybe parked just south of Bakersfield near, is it Tehachapi Pass? It's been a while. I remember the wind turbines in that area. But I think that's probably where it's about stalled out, and the mountains north of Santa Barbara probably in there. All right, let's see if any of these mesoscale models plotted. I think they did. This is the RAP model, basically the rapid refresh. Let's see what conditions look like now. That's going to be the chart right there for the current time. And I see maybe a little bit of a trace of a boundary, maybe. It's hard to tell because of the elevation differences. In fact, it could very well be up here. So, yeah, I'm going to place that maybe up here, north winds around Tonopah, around Area 51, right in there. And let's take it east. Okay, there's Texas. Well, we've got that north wind there, but downslope in the Texas Panhandle, bringing warm air to that region. Temperatures were up near 60. And we go east, and then there's cold air out in that region. We'll take a look at the Great Lakes region and get a look at that storm going through that area. There's the map right now. Looks like the main baroclinic zone is along the coast, down in this area. So where the yellows come very close to the blues, that's the region that I'm looking at for baroclinic development, kind of in this area. And especially, it looks like maybe right out ahead of it, a new zone coming together in that area. We've probably got a low in this area here, but this is where we have occlusion taking place. So let's see, for boundaries, I'm probably going to go something like that there, from Rhode Island southward, and then maybe a warm front, maybe something like that. Actually, it could be a little bit further north. I'm not 100% sure. I would say probably something like that, and that would extend up into upstate New York there as a occluded front. And we've got westerly winds coming back in behind that system, which means lake effect snows in this zone right here. Buffalo down to Erie, especially Erie. And I guess around Watertown, maybe down to Syracuse. Pretty good setup there for lake effect. And on the mesoscale models, you can really see it. Very warm temperatures there on the lakes. We look at the scale down at the bottom. We're talking about 30 degrees on the lake, and then the environment is down around 20. So a lot of warming being contributed, especially it looks like by that lake right there. Erie, we have to keep in mind, Erie is a very shallow lake. So it has very little thermal mass. It cools down pretty quickly as we go on with the season, but Lake Ontario, different story. It takes a little bit longer to cool down. And these lakes often do freeze over, and I'm reminded, if you look around on the internet, there's a story of somebody that walked across Lake Erie with minimal provisions. Pretty crazy. I read it maybe several years ago, but I would check that out. I think they walked from pretty much here, from about Erie up to Ontario. That's probably about a 20 or 30 mile hike, so we're talking probably, a long day's hike. It's not something I would do for sure. Okay, so let's bring up the satellite photo. We'll take a look at the water vapor imagery there. So there's what's going on. I know some of you are probably wondering about the contest, and I've got the scores. Let me take a quick look at chat, make sure we're looking good. Okay, sounds good. Okay, let's bring up the scores here. Okay, so this is a summation of the scores from the night before last. And the winner on this one is Adam Davis. And he only did answer 3 questions, so I wasn't really too sure what to do with the metrics on this, but each one of those 3 was pretty accurate, so I went ahead and figured I'd give him that one. But I think from now on we're going to require like a minimum of 5 answers to qualify for the prize. And next up, Carl Berghoff there, pretty good guesses. And then next up, Joseph Fitzwater. After that, Ryan Toomeys, and then Fun with Tech. And then you can see the rest of the scores there. So for Adam Davis and Carl Berghoff, you can contact me over email at servicedesk@weathergraphics.com or any of the other emails. And I'll pick out something, a book to get sent to you. And we'll try doing this again maybe this weekend. So hope you had fun with that. And for the rest of you, you'll probably have a chance there to maybe get the next one right there. A lot of it really is luck, because I don't really show a whole lot of landmarks. So, we're kind of seeing who can look at the photo and think in the back of their mind what that might be. Maybe the subconscious is kind of working. So congratulations for those of you who won that contest. We'll definitely do it again. Okay, so here's the water vapor imagery. We've got the polar, or the Pineapple Express lurking just to the south. There's nothing really to draw that up right now. We don't have the long waves in phase to bring that northward. What we would need is a trough on the west coast, and we would need kind of a flow like that to bring it northward. And we don't exactly have that. We have a ridge out in that area, so we've got northwesterly flow, and that's kind of keeping it south. We've got a little bit of a bow northward associated with that subtropical jet, but obviously it's not going very far north. So we needed kind of a pattern shift to bring that northward. Got quite a bit of moisture off the coast here. That's another system heading this way. So we will see where that's going to head. I would suspect that's going to head to British Columbia. But that's definitely got some pretty good moisture there. Doesn't look like it's tapped the tropics too well at this time. And we'll give you the infrared from the GOES East. Oh yeah, I can see a little bit of South America there. So we're almost to the winter time. This is probably a good time to talk about the global pattern. So where would we expect to find all the circulations? So we got to think what time of the year it is. It's December. We're coming up on the solstice. That's where the sun is at its furthest south latitude. Now the equator is going to be right here. This is the Amazon Delta right there. And then 22 south is going to be about down here. So this is close to about where the sun is shining directly down on right there. Now, however, the temperatures, they lag behind the sun. The temperatures and pressure, they lag by about 2 months. So most of the stronger pressure and temperature effects are going to be kind of in this area right there. So this is pretty much where we would expect to find the intertropical convergence zone. Now, for whatever reason, it doesn't really go very far south in the Amazon. It really tends to hang around up there near Venezuela and Colombia. In fact, most of the time it's right there around Colombia, and that's kind of what we have for today. It's kind of hanging around right there. And if I had to draw this out, well, we can see it coming off the African coast right there. Then it comes down into the Amazon around Manaus, and then back up to Colombia. Then we kind of lose it out in this area here. So it looks like maybe it's lagging by maybe about 3 months. So this is about the time where we see a lot of activity there in Brazil with the max heating coming down on the jungle. Up north we can see the infrared imagery. The North American landmass, it's cold. In fact, let's see how cold it is. Got to get a surface plot here. Yeah, we can look at this one. Temperatures below freezing pretty much everywhere north of that line, and then the 50 line is going to be a little bit offshore and then coming back into Texas. So the landmass is kind of cold. So looking at infrared imagery, it really stands out. The landmass looks kind of whitish, and then the surrounding oceans and seas a little bit darker there. Okay, let me take a look at the chat, see what we've got going on there. A whole lot of chat, so I'm going to have to skim this one. Electric Dog is here. Good work on that. Yeah, good work on that contest. And I have to mention Adam Davis. One reason he won this one is one of his guesses was like 40 or 50 miles off. It was that close. And that was the one for Kentucky, Sydney, Kentucky. I got 73 miles on one of his guesses. That was that picture looking down the highway and you could see the granite outcroppings. I mean, that could have been anywhere in the eastern U.S. And one of my guesses, or when I first summed this, I had it at 35 miles. And then I fixed it and got it everything balanced, and it was 73 miles. So very good guess there. Let me take you back to the images. Yeah, Kathy Campbell-Wallace joining us, and Mike Estwick, and Fred Reamer, Jason Boggs, Carl Berghoff. Mike Estwick mentions the PD bomb squad in Denver. I'll have to check that one. Alexei Pinkson-Walsh. And Fred Reamer up there in North Dakota. I think it's starting to warm up a little bit, grading a synoptic final. 71 there at Mike Estwick's place. 48 in Bell County, Texas. That's Temple, just north of Austin. And we're sitting at 44.4 degrees Fahrenheit. 4 to 6 inches where Carl Berghoff is in Wisconsin. And Justin Polium also joining us. Jason Boggs, been warm, no precipitation of any kind in the Texas Panhandle. Yeah, we've got precipitation below normal, especially around Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas, entering a pretty strong drought. And let me see if I can show that to you. I've got a pretty good chart here. So that's good that Jason brought that up. This is the precipitation anomaly. This is for the year. This is percent of normal precipitation. So we'll just look quickly at this. Any of the yellows or reds are going to be below normal. Any of the blues and greens are above. So let me give you the state outlines here. There we go. Let me adjust that a little bit. Okay. So if you take the year as a whole, I guess we got a lot of good rains in the high plains there. So they're running for the year about 110, 150% of normal. But around that area, 90s, and then Arizona, 50% of normal. But obviously, we had that flooding there in the Sierra Nevada. Some of those areas running 150 to 200% above normal. But most of the country running pretty dry. Let's take a look at the past 30 days. Much different picture here. Lots of red. So this is bad. Amarillo there. Plainview, Woodward, Childress showing close to 0%. So drought all the way back to Arizona. And 10 to 25% above normal into Little Rock, Memphis, Des Moines, and all the way up to Minneapolis. No help in the northeast U.S. due to the persistent northwesterly flow that tends to be pretty dry. So precipitation there running about 50 to 75% of the normal. The only places getting any good rain, Wyoming, the Sierra Nevadas, and parts of South Texas. And up there around Jacksonville, Florida. So that's a look at the precipitation. Might as well look at the CPC outlooks. If you put in CPC NOAA, that'll give you the official Climate Prediction Center outlook. So there's some good products here. This is where they talk about El Nino. So you can get up to speed on that. Let's take a look at the 1 month outlook. This is temperature, so we're looking at warm in the west and cold in the east. So that indicates a prevailing jet stream pattern, kind of like that right there. Then for precipitation, below normal, that's pretty much what we expect around a ridge. And we'll check out the 3 month outlook. Looks like the heat is shifting to the Gulf Coast. Above normal there, so this is indicative of a strong zonal component to the flow. And the precipitation looking like that. North of northern U.S. above normal, and looks like we're going into a drought in Florida. So just what we need to start the spring. Okay, time to head into the forecast. Let's do that. We'll go through the upper level charts real quickly. This is a 200 millibar chart up at 39,000 feet. Well, northwesterly flow coming in from Canada, but a little persistent cutoff low in Arizona. The models used to have a whole lot of trouble handling these cutoff lows, but they've gotten much, much better. And what we see here looks like a jet max comes in, opens up the trough, and brings it into West Texas for the 17th. I need to get some water here. Okay. So that'll probably be the first change in Texas. We're talking about Saturday night into Sunday. And then it looks like another trough coming in through the Gulf of California. In that second trough, it looks like it'll be approaching maybe around Monday into Texas. And then the large-scale trough, that's coming into the central U.S. around Monday into Tuesday. Then looks like a zonal pattern gets established, another trough in the southwest U.S. And that one's quite a bit deeper. We're talking about the 25th, 26th. So that's pretty deep there, probably a good surface system. And let's take a look at the surface patterns. Okay, so starting out, a couple of Alberta clippers. There goes one for tomorrow. Strong downslope component in Texas. A little bit of a trough like that. So we're looking at probably a strong warm-up for Texas. So that Alberta clipper cuts through the Chicago area into Dayton and Toledo. So snow showers in the Great Lakes area. So this is showing Thursday or Wednesday night. Now we go into Thursday. Things quiet down across much of the U.S. Now we've got, it looks like a little bit of a high pressure area moving southward. We noticed that the downslope flow has kind of went away. Let's see where that changed. Yeah, it was right here. See, there's some troughing there in Texas and Oklahoma. This is tomorrow night. And what we're having is this ridge shifting southward right there. So that's what changes the flow. Here's the downslope flow. That goes away. So this is what kind of muscles in and takes over the pattern. So there it is. There's the high pressure moving in for Thursday. So maybe a little bit of a cool down in the north half of Texas. And actually all of Texas by Friday. And we see precipitation getting established way down here. Jet stream pattern linking up with that front. Downslope flow once again in Texas and Oklahoma as this high recedes, moves off to the southeast. And we've got another system moving out of the Dakotas on Saturday. So it looks like another system coming through the Rockies right there. Okay, the Gulf is open right there. There's a southerly flow coming into Louisiana and Arkansas, so maybe some showers there for Saturday night into Sunday. Then it looks like we have more cold air coming in from the north. Not much going on around the rest of the country. We've just got kind of an inverted trough right here in the southeast. So that'll be a little area of showers and thunderstorms moving eastward on Sunday. So another little wave comes through and moves through Alabama and Georgia on Tuesday. But things really start picking up here in the northwest. 21st. So there's high pressure right there. We're bringing in moisture. Moisture is good. It's got a lot of latent heat to feed into a system, so that could have an impact there. So here's the front sinking southward. Looks like a pretty good wave coming through Nevada. You can see the thickness all bunched up in this area right here, and very strong packing of the pressure. The isobars right there. So something really big going on in the northern Rockies. So that shifts downward, kind of like closing up a zipper. There's the leading edge of that front right there. Yeah, the models have been advertising this around Christmas. Something coming southward. Very strong push of cold air. And looks like the jet is very active. And yeah, things really come together here. Cold air pushes southward. There's probably the first wave coming into Arizona on the 24th, and then into Texas and Oklahoma on Christmas. So yeah, looks like we're getting a Christmas storm of some kind here. And that heads northeast, and yeah, if anybody's traveling after Christmas, this will have some impacts, especially I-44 and I-57 there, Interstate 70, and into Pennsylvania there. So it looks like the main track of this wintry weather is going to be kind of in this area here, from Oklahoma City, maybe Dallas, up to southern Illinois, Chicago, Toledo, and Detroit, and up into Ontario. So you can see that it looks like a lot of rain in the northeast. So this will be kind of a warm system. At least that's the way it looks at this time. And behind it, high pressure moving in for the 27th. And wow, things are coming together again out west. Very, very stormy out in that region. Good grief. Yeah, I mean, look at the 1,000 millibar isobar. Quite a system there in the western U.S. If this comes together, we're really going to have something to look at. And we got to keep in mind that when this comes down into the plains, we're going to get further deepening due to the conservation of angular momentum effect. We can't go any further, but we know what's going to happen when that comes out into eastern Colorado. Probably a huge bit of development there. But, you know, this is 384 hours out. Things could flip-flop. So we shall see. 28th and 29th could be interesting here. Okay, that's probably a good note to leave it on. Let me go through the chat real quick. Okay, a little math discussion on the chat. Something about GOES in here. Yeah, December 20th, GOES 16 becomes operational as GOES East. That's great news. Hope Unidata supplies a feed, and I hope we see that on McItis, on some of the data servers. All right, Fred Reamer says he thinks we got a Rex block off the coast of California after 200 hours. But yeah, it's all virtual weather. Fires in southwestern California have been an eye-opener, and hopefully this puts an end to that right there, I would hope. And yeah, see, it's showing showers all the way down to the LA area. So we've got a pretty decent chance to break this up there. And Jason Boggs traveling back to the Texas Panhandle from Albuquerque on the 26th. And yeah, that could be a issue, because when the systems are looking like this here, let me go back a little bit. Yeah, like this. That can be really bad there for I-40. So what's happening, you've got very strong upslope flow, isentropic lift, and then you have waves coming in from the west. And the front is usually backed up to around Klein's Corner, Tucumcari, Roswell, out in that area. So that can be a very dynamic pattern there for New Mexico. So this frame here, this is for New Year's Eve, 288 hours out, midday there. And then let me give you Christmas morning. Yeah, about right there. So GFS forecasting freezing rain, sleet from Tulsa down to Wichita Falls. And just kind of a little bit of mixed precip later during the day down in the DFW area there. So let's see here. I was going to take a look at the snow just to see what it's throwing out there. Let's do the 12-hour, or hang on a second. Let's do the snow depth. Okay, charts are coming in. You can definitely see the snowpack pretty far up to the north. Not a whole lot going on in the Rockies there. So we're looking at the 13th, 14th. Looks like a little bit of showery activity there in the higher terrain around the 15th. That's interesting. A little activity there in Mexico. So a couple waves moving through the Rockies every now and then. That's kind of the tail end of those Alberta Clippers as they work down the Rockies. And here comes a pretty big one around the 22nd. Yeah, this is our storm here. So GFS, this is nighttime on Christmas Day, like later in the day. And GFS there around Chanute, Kansas, up to Columbia, going for 24 inches. And then Oklahoma City, well, we're kind of splitting hairs, but it's putting it at about 6 inches there, and you can see quite a bit of snow in northeastern New Mexico there. So pretty much no accumulation south of the Red River or Little Rock. But of course, this will be subject to change. Anyway, interesting stuff to look at. Okay. I hope you enjoyed the webcast, and that's about all I got for tonight. Let me get my levels. Oh, I don't have my levels. Okay, I'm going to have to just click these buttons with my mouse. Anyway, I hope you have a good evening, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.